Hi, good to see you here in the Guitar Comfort Zone. Thanks for joining me. Over time it happened to me quite often that I bought a guitar and it turned out to be a disappointment. What I'm trying to do here is to give you as much information as I can to help you to make the right decision when you buy a guitar. Now, I work on guitars. Now, we will do a technical check of the guitar. Then we will do a comfort check. Now, what is the comfort check? How well is the setup of the guitar out of the box? Is it playable? Do you need a luthier to make it playable? And are the neck and the fretboard healthy? The other thing is the shape of the neck suitable for your hand shape and size? Now I know that's not exact science, so we will talk about that and I'll give you pointers about hand size and shape, neck shape, and if necessary, how to make a guitar more playable. After that, we will do a sound check. I will use different amps, different styles. I may not necessarily like them, you may not necessarily like them, but that way you get a good idea what a guitar can do. Guitars I buy with my own money, so I can say whatever I want. Today we will talk about the EARTYXSG3. Now, why this guitar? I had around for quite a bit this almost 50-year-old Fender. Usually I play shorter scale guitars, like say, the Gibson sort of scale length, because I have smallish hands, but this guitar played so wonderful I had to do a fret level and crowning and some other work, and I was just lazy, I delayed that, but wow, I really love to play that guitar. So I began to look for an S-type guitar, and I saw quite a bit of reviews of this EART like 2-3 years ago. So it made me curious. I was like, how is this EART in 2025? Right? So that's why we are looking at this. First impressions were good. It's a light guitar. It was easy to play. I had to get used to the matte finish. Silly, but just how it is. Another thing to be aware of is that the prices, because it's actually across the board for EART guitars, go up quite a bit. I think when I bought it, it was still just 275 euros here in Europe. Now it's 325, I think. It went up, but I see other models also going up. Just for your information, just so you know. I'm not going through the specs, but I will do a check-up of the guitar very, very quickly. Okay, the woods of the guitar, mahogany body, bookmark they say, but looks nice. Guitar is roasted Canadian maple. I checked the roasted in my experience when I change the profile of the neck, the shape of the neck, and it's a roasted neck, you send quite a bit, let's say a millimeter, sometimes more, sometimes less away, and the color of the wood remains constant when it's really a roasted neck. So what I did, I took off this neck, and this part here, I sanded it in the center. To see if the color changed, and it didn't. So I assume this guitar has a roasted neck. The fretboard is rosewood, and the guitar is, about the body wood, is it 2-piece or 3-piece? I don't know. It's quite dark here, so I can't say for sure. From the top I would say 2-piece, but maybe it's somehow 3-piece and I missed something. The weight of the guitar is 3.14 kilograms or 6.9 pounds. That is nice, quite a light weight. The balance, of course, of this S-type guitar is good whether you're sitting or standing. The neck feel is good because it's sort of a matte finish. Very easy to slide over, that's no problem there. High fret access is no problem, of course, also with an S-type. And there are some contours here. And where is it? Here. So it's really a comfortable body, but that's, you know, pretty standard for this kind of guitar. From the top, we have a headstock that reminds me of a quite expensive S-type guitar. The tuners are EARTH branded. The nut is bone, and I must say, I'll go to in detail later, it's actually the best nut of any guitar I ever saw new. And that's something because I sell a lot of guitars. So, you know, extra points for EARTH here, really, really nice. The finish is nice. There is a scratch here, that's but my kids did that, so don't blame EARTH for that. If you look here at the neck pocket, you see that the finish is really, really very well there. I see no flaws, I must say. It's a good looking guitar. The bindings, they don't have here, of course, but I mean the position markers here, they're very, very well centered, apart from, I think, one here, but which is like whatever, a fraction of a millimeter off. So that is really should not be a problem either, I don't think. The dot inlays are also very well centered. Okay. The fret material supposedly is stainless steel. I didn't check that, but you know, can we believe them on their word? Probably. I'm not sure. They're very well polished. There is no fret sprout that I felt. I didn't work on the frets of this guitar. This is just how it came to me out of the box. The bridge is an iron containing alloy. The saddles are quite solid. They are a non-iron containing alloy. The trem block again is also non-iron containing metal. And I must say that's exactly the case on this 50-year-old Fender. I mean, the plate is has iron, and the saddles they don't. Well, for whatever it matters. String trees, nice touch here. Two with different posts here, one higher, one lower. They function well. And if I remember correctly, the Fender player has only one string tree, I think, and it's screwed straight in to the wood here. Now, the distance of the frets to the side of the fretboard is good. It's very equal. There's no irregular spaces there. The strings, which I find very important, are also well centered on the fretboard. It's not like, you know, the high E or the low E is like too close to the fretboard, which is, you know, quite annoying when you're playing. I checked the neck with the slotted ruler, and it's straight. I also tested for twists, also no twists, so that part of the neck is good. I also did a test on the truss rod, which, by the way, you adjust with a spoke wheel here, which I think is the best solution. No little thingies here that you can lose. It's very, very easy to access, and very important, I think, is that people tend to use the wrong hex key from here, and the thread wears out, and then they come to a guitar tech rod anymore. So I think this is a very good solution. I think a guitar should be able to have a back bow, be perfectly straight, and have a forward bow in case the weather changes or in case you want to change the string gauge. This guitar passed this test very, very, very well. Tuning stability is good. I had no problems. It's one of my better guitars in keeping tuning, so no problems there. The knot slots, I already told you, it's a bone knot, and the best cut knot I ever saw on a new guitar. I said that before, but I think the knot deserves it to say that again. And what they did, which is even better, is that the nut slots are slightly deeper on the treble side. They sort of get deeper and deeper. That's really an attention to detail that I hardly ever saw. I mean, not even on a 1000+ guitar or a 1500 guitar, you don't see that attention to detail. So that's really very well done, I think. Intonation was almost good. I had to give like a small touch on 2 strings, otherwise it was good. Electronics are surprisingly neat, I must say. I'll show that to you. And the pots are also surprisingly full size. And they have a good kind of resistance. They're not too loose and not very tight. The soldering looks also nice, not like these big blotches of solder around. It really looks good, I think. The one thing that you may want to address when it bothers you, that the guitar doesn't have shielding inside. What is funny though is that I will show you that more in detail, that there is a beautiful cable attached to the guitar from the ground to where the shielding should be. So clearly they had in their mind that it should be shielded, and that probably you do it yourself or whatever. I don't know what they had exactly in their minds. Buy some copper tape for $10 or 10 euros, stick it in, re-screw the ground, and you're fine. Okay, we go now to the comfort part. Just for your information, I'll give you my handspan. You see that's about 19 centimeters or 7.5 inches. I give you that measurement because that way you can you have a reference if I say something, oh, it feels big or it feels small or whatever. Yeah, so that's good information, I think. We start with the radius of the neck. Now, the radius is the curvature of the fretboard. Interestingly, the radius on the top part is 7.5 inches and the downer part is 9.5 inches. Also interesting is that 7.5 is the classic radius for Fender guitars, like this 50 years old guitar, the pre-80s guitar had 7.5, the current guitars have 9.5. That's good, but it gets more interesting. First the width, 41.9 or millimeter or 1.65 inches, which is pretty normal for an S-style guitar, and 51.9 or millimeter or God, that makes me absolutely crazy, this, or 2.0 inches at the 12th fret, the width. I like to call it the width and the depth because that's more clear than calling it fat or big or whatever. Now the depth is the interesting part. The depth is 21.9 millimeters or 0.86 inches. Here, and the depth at the 12th fret is 22.3 millimeters or 0.87 inches. Now what is interesting about it is that the difference in depth between the 1st fret and the 12th fret is 0.4 millimeters. So that's not much, and you feel that. So the combination of the radius that gets flatter when you go down and the overall depth that stays the same gives you a very comfortable feeling. A lot of guitars, they start at 21, 22 and go to 24 or more. Many Fenders are around 22 here and go to 23, 24. So it feels very good because it doesn't get bigger here. So this neck, I would say, is super comfortable for most people. Especially if you have smaller hands, it's nice that you don't have to stretch your hand when you go down. So neck also, high points for earth. Really good. The shoulder profile is also very non-square, rounded, V-ish. That's actually the most important thing because you can measure a neck until you drop. You can do the circumference, you can do the depth, the width, but in the end I think that very often the shoulder determines how comfortable a guitar feels and how suitable it is for people with smaller or more sensitive hands. The squarer the shoulder, the more difficult the guitar gets to play in general. Of course, it's always a personal thing, and this is my opinion about it. Next part in the comfort is the action. The action is the height of the strings at the 12th fret in general. So it's measured by measuring the distance between the top of the 12th fret and the bottom of the string. Of course, the more you have to press down on the string, the more harder a guitar is to play. On the other hand, when the strings are very, very close to the fretboard, you tend to get buzz, less sustain, things like that. So, like most things in life, it's a trade-off. Action is determined by the height of the strings here at the knot. I already told you that that part is really good. It's determined by the height of the strings at the bridge in the saddles, and it's determined by what we call the relief. The relief is like a slight bow in the neck, a forward bow that allows the strings to move more freely. Out of the box, the relief was good, and the action out of the box was 1.5 millimeters. That's excellent. Most guitars comes at 2, 1.7, 1.8. Sometimes you have one which is 2.5. I see a lot of guitars for setups, so that's my experience. I think the sweet spot for most people is around 1.6. This is 1.5, so wonderful. You can just make the saddles a bit higher to get 1.6. To go lower, that was possible. I saw a fuse frets. I just did it with the fret rocker. You can see if some frets are a bit higher. There were 2 or 3 that were a bit higher. I didn't have to file them down. I just pushed with a wooden block because during shipping and the temperature difference, they came up slightly. I put them a little bit lower, and with that minimal amount of work, the guitar is now 1.25 action. So in terms of action, also very high points for EARTH. And to answer the question, do you need a luthier to make this guitar playable? Well, obviously you don't. Okay, it's time for the sound test. I test with amp and cabinet captures, very much like a neural DSP sort of system. The cabinet is the same for all different amps I use. It's a Mesa Boogie, a horizontal rectifier, I think it's called. I test different styles, so you get a feeling for what a guitar can do. The pickups are ceramic, they're not Alnico, and the resistance is about 5 kilo ohm for each of them, so they're low output, supposedly classic sounding pickups. But for what they are, I think they sound actually quite good. For the test, I'll put first the tone pots to 10. I prefer them at about 6, 7, a little bit less bright, but that's a personal thing, of course. Okay, let's start with a Fender brown face, then we talk about, I think, beginning 60s. That's the middle pickup. The bridge. And the neck. Now the intermediate positions. Position 4, which is the neck and the middle. And position 2, which is bridge and middle. Because it's a Stratocaster, I will also test this sort of typical Stratocaster sound. First, just the neck pickup. Now we go to the typical Strat position, position 4. You hear the difference. We do the same for the middle. First just the middle pickup. Now. And now we go to position 2, which is the middle and the bridge together. Just to give you an idea. Go to the neck pickup. Some rockabilly. Position 4, country-like sounds. Now Fender Black face, 70s. We have more distortion, and I'll do some different blues things. Position 2. Yet something else bluesy. Now we go to the Marshalls. First, without distortion, I do associate it with like pop, I would say, as a sound. Position 4. Marshall with a bit more distortion, all the way to the bridge. Mid, middle position, just the middle pickup. Now we jump to a Van Halen amp. Time for the conclusion. What do we think about this EART? In the beginning, I asked the question, after 2-3 years in 2025, what is the EART still like at this moment after all the very positive reviews at the time? Well, I think EART is doing pretty well. There's a word of warning here though. I only bought one EART. Not 10, not 100. So my opinions are exclusively based on this one guitar, just so you know. We just did the sound test and I think you could hear that the guitar is very versatile in sound. It has this Strat sound thing. I think you could hear that in the beginning. The pickups, I had some doubts about these ceramic pickups. Actually, I already bought a new set of pickups for this guitar even before I had this guitar. I didn't use those new pickups, so I think that shows you that, at least for me, they are okay, they're doing well. When we talk about versatility with a guitar, there's one thing that I think you should bear in mind. Many people use, including me, amp captures, IRs for the cabinets, maybe modelers, and then you have basically any and every sound you want at your fingertips. So that makes a guitar incredibly versatile. Now, if you have amps, there are different things to consider. A Stratocaster, by its nature, has a mid-scooped sound. More treble, more bass, less mids. So if you combine that with, let's say, the typical Fender amplifier, which is also mid-scooped, but you love to use a clone pedal, for example, your sound is at risk of being a bit brittle. If you use a tube screamer, which is a mid-heavy pedal, you get maybe a very balanced sound. Same if you combine a Strat sound mid-scooped with the Marshall mid-heavy, they sort of balance each other out and you get a balanced tone, and pedal-wise you can sort of do what you want. Only thing I'm trying to say is when you work with real amps, you have different things to consider. Now in a general use scenario, I would say being single coil, being low output single coils, obviously it's really the opposite of a guitar with active humbucker pickup. So if you are looking for that, obviously, especially when you work with real amps, this is not really the guitar to look for. Otherwise, I would say it's a versatile guitar. Now, the comfort part. The neck has this variable radius, a little bit rounder here, a little bit flatter here. I'm not necessarily a fan of the variable radius. I mean, variable radius is nice if it has been executed very, very well. In the case of this guitar, I think it is. You have 7 1/4 here, 9 1/2 I think here, and I think the very sophisticated part is that the depth of the neck stays the same almost. 0.4 millimeter, I think, thicker here, you don't notice it. So that really feels comfortable, and I think makes this neck suitable really for everybody. The action, well, I don't have to say much about it. Well, I don't have the action measure thingy here. I showed it to you later. Action out of the box 1.5 millimeters or 0.059, 0.06 inches. That's excellent. That's suitable for everybody, probably even too low for everybody, but it's easy to make it higher. So in terms of comfort, high marks for this guitar. Really, really, really good. Now, build quality. I must say, when you look at this guitar and look with me again at this neck pocket, you get this sense of precision with the way this guitar is built. Everything is precise, the fit and finish is excellent. So build quality, for me, good. Very, very good. Woods chosen, well, they work fine. The guitar is resonant, so no problems there. Now, if I would look for things I would improve, everybody always says I should change to locking tuners. Tuning issues are almost always in the nut, a badly cut nut or things like that. Or the strings went too deep into a plastic nut or whatever. There are many, many reasons. So locking tuners would not be my first thought for improvement. Pickups, I told you about, well, I have the pickups around, but I didn't use them. But because I like tinkering with guitars, I will most probably change the pickups, and probably I'll change them twice, just because I like to experiment. The one thing I don't like, and it's totally unimportant, they're the knobs. I really don't like the design of those knobs. The letters are too big, it looks coarse, I don't know. So I would definitely change that. Another thing is the color of the pickguard. It's greenish. I don't really mind, and it's very easy to change a pickguard. It will set you back whatever, $10 or $15, and you have another pickguard. So we're not talking about huge issues here, apparently. Now, another thing to remember about shielding, a lot of guitars do have shielding. They have this black paint in the cavities, but when you begin to measure it, it's not conductive, so it's just black paint. It doesn't do anything. So with shielding, bear in mind, it's not always what it seems. When we look at the competition, this guitar is 325 euros. It went up in price quite a bit in the past years. It brings you almost immediately, I would say, to a Squier Classic 5. They are around 370, 400 euros, depending on the color. I think when you look at this guitar, you look at the sophisticated and comfortable neck. You look at the fit and finish and how well it's built. You look at the fact that it's light, but still well built, as I said. It's 1.5 millimeters thinner than my pretty hefty 76 Strat here. I think it's an extremely serious competitor in this field, and probably even in the price range a bit above this. So that's my opinion. Having had a look at this guitar, I became very interested in the next model up with 3 single coils, which is called the NKVS60. I would love to do a review on that one to see what the differences are. Another thing with this guitar, and it may sound so irrelevant, is you just like to have it around. It's so comfortable, it's so nimble, it's so nice to play. It's this guitar that you like to have around. I mean, just wanted to say that. Anyway, I enjoyed tremendously to do this review. I hope it was informative for you, because that's the most important thing. In the future, I want to do more reviews of guitar, but also more videos about hand size, about neck shape, how these things combine, because I think it's an interesting field that maybe we don't think about that much. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it too. And I hope to see you again soon. And in the meantime, have a wonderful time.